I just want to start off this video by saying that my history with this show is a little bit confusing. So to summarize it, when I was like 12 years old, I saw One Piece and it seemed interesting, but the age rating was also like way above me, and I wasn't watching stuff that was like rated TV 14 at the time. I wasn't looking into anime as much because I was young and didn't understand as much. And I'm still young and I don't understand as much, yet here I am and I finally tried out One Piece. At 15 years old, I'm trying One Piece, and I watched the first 61 episodes of what Disney Plus has grouped together as the East Blue. I'm not gonna lie, I actually had to redo this video because I was explicitly told by my friends that One Piece is just one giant season. So write your hate comments in the comment section down below because I know you're all going to do the same. But yeah, the first 61 episodes are titled East Blue on Disney Plus, because Disney Plus has grouped them all together in season-like structures. So that was a bit of a mistake on my end, but if you like One Piece, make sure to hit the like button, make sure to hit the subscribe button, please hit the notification bell, and let's get into it. Now, I really liked One Piece. All the characters were really expressive. They all had these fun things they did. In fact, I can actually draw some comparisons in some areas. Luffy's joyous vibe and goal in mind, and always looking to be the best, which is like the king of the pirates, he kind of reminds me of Ash. Now, of course, they're completely different people, but correct me if I'm wrong, I believe a female also voices Luffy, so that's funny. But Luffy also kind of reminds me of Kamen X from Beyblade X. He has such a joyous vibe, but unlike Jackson, he can actually get angry. He actually has feelings. And I think that's what I like about Luffy. Just the blend of emotions they gave him really suited him. Zoro's kind of a big dummy. In fact, my brother has a book on a bunch of One Piece fun facts after we watched the first 61 episodes. Apparently for the live action version, they needed to teach the guy who was so good at sword fighting that he needed to be dumber to play Zoro. And I really like Zoro for his goal. He has a good backstory. He's a bit of a stubborn jerk at times. And his three sword style is kind of unique. I mean, at least it was for like the 1990s and 2000s. Nowadays, we've probably seen a lot of interesting stuff in different parts. Nami's backstory with Arlong was probably my favorite because it is very emotional. She has a goal in mind. She was kind of forced to become a thief and a pirate, but it's kind of like doing the wrong things for the right reason. Especially if it means, casually saving your hometown village. Usopp's mother died, his father became a pirate, so now Usopp's destined to be a pirate, and now he is. But as much as I do like Usopp's personality, I feel like there's some things that they could tweak about him, like, I get that his personality trait is that he's supposed to be a scaredy cat. Maybe they couldn't make him as much of a scaredy cat. Like, I like his dirty tricks personality. That's fun. Now, like any common anime that people have watched, the intro title sequence usually spoils who's going to be main characters, even when they're not introduced. Like when Zoro was introduced, Nami, Usopp, and Sanji. And Sanji's probably my favorite because his probably hit me the most. Probably because it was like the most realistic. Stranded, trying to conserve your food. And what I really like about Sanji is that when I saw him in the intro title sequence, his vibe just didn't really click with Luffy's at first, in my opinion. But once you really get to know the guy, then despite his black clothes and smoking, he's actually a really good guy to have on Luffy's team. I love how he's basically the Brock of One Piece, and I'm sure that no one is surprised that I'm making that comparison. But my major gripe with One Piece so far is the story. Like, the story is very simple. They all want to do something great in their lives, but each individual saga, which is how I'm labeling them, just takes so long to be done and get to the point. Like, the one about Kuro, the evil butler, That was really well done, but I feel like there were so many episodes that could have been left out. Or at the very least, have stories condensed into other episodes. Buggy's felt the most stubborn because it was like they thought to have defeated Buggy with his own cannon, but no, he's still alive and Luffy just launches him off. Don Krieg was probably the most conflicting one because, again, really clever storytelling with Sanji and what he went through to get where he is. But also, even after Don Krieg was defeated, all the characters' personalities being so conflicted with all the chefs and Don Krieg's pirates, it just felt like it would never end. The one I think that felt the longest was the one about Arlong, because Nami's story was in 2 episodes. 2 episodes! If that doesn't speak for how long each saga can take. I think my favorite saga of the East Blue collection is probably the one about the little girl and the dragon, and the one in Logtown. Both of those sagas felt like they went by really quick. Even in spite of Buggy's return and the guy with the sicko fruit. That's still funny to me. But yeah, those 2 seem to go by in a flash. So yeah, as good as One Piece was, I think that's a pretty fair criticism. And all the action scenes are really nicely done. And you know what? They've been adapting One Piece into a live action version, and I've seen a couple of animes get rebooted with such of which include Ranma Half on Netflix, Sailor Moon Crystal. Even Pokemon has a movie retelling Ash's story from the ground up. Maybe they condense the story for One Piece in this new live action version, like how these reboots I've seen have gone. I'm not really sure. And I just decided for the heck of it to look up all of Luffy's crewmates, and then there's Chopper the Reindeer, who I've actually seen him around in places before I watched One Piece, so there's that. So I like how he's like the doctor, and Frankie, the big robotic guy, he's also one that I wouldn't really match with Luffy's personality, but yeah, but I'm sure that he's also a good guy. The skeleton musician being the most recent addition to Luffy's crew, awesome. I like how they just made a skeleton the musician. And then there's Robin, who I don't really know what she does. I think that she's like the second navigator. I'm not sure. Look, I'm kind of dumb. I only just got into the series. I'm only just familiarizing myself with these characters. So I'm hoping that the more I watch, the more condensed some of the stories will be. Like, now I've gotten into the second group called Alabasta, and it seems like the first few episodes are just the Straw Hats in the Grand Line. But yeah, I've had a lot of enjoyment and entertainment from watching this show. So I'm gonna go watch another episode of it with my brother and sister right now. So thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you all next time. Later.